All right, welcome in. Going for two live stream show. Just wrapped our Rogers show. We were talking a little bit of shit. We had a whole bunch of curse words that we weren't allowed to say on there, so we're gonna get those out
We're
here.
gonna get them all out
Uh,
here.
as you what?
Can't swear in the first 2 minutes.
Well,
Oh,
we already fucked that one up.
Yeah.
all right,
So
my bad. As you can tell, Kalen is not with us, but you got Shane and Chad and Chargers super fan Joe from Bold Financial. Obviously, we know you're a Cowboys fan. Everyone can see in your gear there.
Go San Diego.
Um, Lots to talk about. Obviously, we were kind of talking about it just before we went live here. The fact that not only the Eagles blew themselves a little lead, Colorado Buffaloes blew themselves a lead. The San Francisco 49ers just couldn't pull it together. The loss of McCaffrey and Debo is where people are putting the blame, but I think the Browns might just be a little bit better than people think defensively. And I don't want to say there's a blueprint put together, but eventually those guys had to lose a game. Um, Sooners didn't even play this week, so
He's undefeated.
Kelly's not going to be quiet. She's already in here. Uh, Notre Dame had a big win.
I got the blueprint. We set the blueprint on how to beat Caleb Williams.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's one dimensional, so his one dimension is whatever you leave open for him, and if you don't leave anything open for him, he can't do anything. Surprise, surprise, right?
Well, it's great.
Yeah, that Caitlin's not here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
that guy kept calling him a generational talent, and I thought it was
Yeah.
phenomenal because he rips on us for Trevor Lawrence and my love for him. And the one guy he praised and said was better. Like I think he thinks Caleb Williams invented water.
Yeah.
And yeah, he got exposed.
Yeah, he got exposed. I think the Notre Dame defense is good. I think the Notre Dame team is good. Kelly's already commenting on it. Malcolm is at home recovering because he had a boys' weekend. He was watching the Michigan Indiana game, which I think was probably a little tense for the first quarter there. Got out of hand after. Um, First, last, and only time we're going to talk about it. The Michigan State collapse. I don't know if you guys got the opportunity to watch it, but as a Michigan State fan, I've never they've been through a lot of shit. And I'm not minimizing the shit that they went through, but I've never been more embarrassed to be a fan of their football team after until Saturday. It's like
It wasn't the shit; it was the game that
yeah,
made you embarrassed.
look, Mel Tucker, he's his own man. I blame that on him. And some of the recruiting violations, blame that on the coaches. This was they just collapsed. I don't know if you got to see it. I'll give you a quick Coles notes. 28-6, about to start the fourth quarter. They get a penalty, carries it into the fourth quarter. First play of the game, or first play of the first quarter, punt, snap, misses it, touchdown. Okay, fine. They kick it to us. We go 3-0. We kick it back to them. They go 3-0. All right, we're back under control. It's 11 points. We're feeling good. They punted to us. Well, guess what? We fumbled it. Cool. Next play, touchdown. Cool. Ensuing kickoff. Guy decides not to pick up the ball. They pick it up because it's a live ball. Did you know that in football? On the kickoff, it's a live ball.
Man, remember when Dallas did that?
Yeah.
It's the ball. You pick it up.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. You were taught that at like 7 years old.
Well, guess what? They scored on the next play. And that
That was a long time ago for a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was 21 points in the span of probably 6 or 7 minutes. And a huge, huge just collapse of Michigan State football. Their bowl hopes are dead. Literally, all we have left is we play Michigan on prime time, and we can't embarrass ourselves. We can't embarrass ourselves worse than losing that game. They blew an 18-point lead to Iowa, and then they blew an 18-point lead to Rutgers.
So
I don't know what's
you're great at blowing.
Yeah, you sicken me. You sicken me, man. But yeah, other than that, I didn't have to watch any nightmare football because Steelers offense was on bye, so that felt good. But yeah, let's welcome Joe because the last time we were here, we had some audio issues. I was on the road, so obviously I wasn't here to save the day, but I'm here to save the day. Audio's here. So you're not a Charger super fan. We picked you to come back for a Cowboys Monday night game. So why don't we start there, Cowboys Monday night, and see how you're feeling about what the offense is looking like right now.
I just want the pain to stop. It's my big thing, right?
Yeah.
Like ultimately, I don't think Dallas can come back if they're down. That's my big problem with it. They can set up their offense however they want to set it up, but the problem with it is if they're down 10 points, 14 points, and they got to rely on Dak, I think it's pretty obvious that Dak can't come through and take them to that next level. To come back from a two touchdown deficit, which
Yeah.
a two touchdown deficit in the NFL is
It's two
Nothing.
possessions.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's
It's
like
two
literally nothing.
possessions.
Like that's nothing. You're up 14-0. You know, 2 decades ago. Yeah, it's over. Like take a knee. It's over.
Yeah.
Now, like yeah, 28-3. Like we all understand how
Yeah.
you should be able to put some points on the board, and that's my worry with it. So as long as they start off, develop the run game as they're going, and get some points on the board right away, and let the defense dictate how the game goes, I'm confident.
Yeah.
Other than that, not so much.
Well,
Yeah.
we just got a comment in here saying that someone's sick of watching the sausage party, apparently. Kelly
What
feel-
sausage party?
Kelly
This
feels
one.
like we need a woman on the show. She doesn't volunteer to be her, but I guess she's going to recruit for us. I don't know.
Just plain, like
Yeah.
planes,
Yeah.
trains, automobiles.
Yeah.
Like get into London, Ontario.
Yeah.
I would like to say though, she's probably been waiting so long after Oklahoma beat Texas, and the first chance she gets, Kalen's not here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. And you know what? Like that was a big win, and I think for the first time in a long time, we can confidently say that Oklahoma's in a driver's seat for a playoff spot, right?
It was crazy after what happened last year with Venables, and like it always happens when you bring a new coach in. Culture changes. Like
Yeah.
there's no surprise there. And like people were ready to kill him last year. Like I'm sure he probably had a couple for sale signs on his front line. He recruited very well. He used the transfer
He's
portal well.
definitely hiding from you.
And I
She
don't
put
know,
it in.
but
She put it in the comments.
and then all I'm saying was like when he was at Clemson,
Michael
our
Spence says,
defense.
"Happy birthday, big guy."
Well, thanks, Mitch. He had some of the best defenses when he was at Clemson. He brought that front four mentality to Oklahoma, and we used to make fun of the the Big 12 for how bad their defense was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now Oklahoma has a defense to go with that offense where they can always score.
Yeah.
You know what the wildest part about the Big 12 is that no one ever thought that would be we're looking at like, okay, 55-50. It's like, what are we doing here, right?
Right.
And all of a sudden it's like, okay, when you put a defense in place, now we can dominate this conference.
Mhm. It's
Newsflash,
right.
like, I mean, it's not that complicated, but at the same time, though, it's almost like they all gathered in a room and said, "This is how we're going to play football."
Right,
Oh,
and all it took was them to start recruiting for an SEC conference, right?
Yeah.
And like now you need to bring in those kind of guys to get ready for next year. And you can see that like they have a good like four set up for next year. But it is amazing, like exactly what you're saying. You couldn't recruit those kind of guys to come play in the Big 12, but as soon as they know you're kind of getting into a different conference, you're going to play at a little bit of
and
a higher
what did
level.
we just see yesterday? Cleveland beat San Francisco. Like, let's be right.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, sure, it's not going to work all the time, of
Yeah.
course not. But at the same time, you're in the game.
Yeah,
You're in the game, even if they have all these amazingly talented players. If you have a great defense, you're in the game.
yeah,
You're in the
The
game.
Giants beat the best Super Bowl team of all time by having a really good defense.
Yes,
yeah,
twice.
yeah. And you know what? Like the Jets are a good example of that too.
Yeah,
Defensively, they were studs from basically start to finish. Philly's going to make their plays. They probably have the best receiving core, if not, 1-2 punch. I couldn't really think of who their number three is going to be. It's probably Dallas Goddard, but like if you're lining up, um, but when you're the Jets and you can shut all that down and still generate a pass rush, and at the end of the game, basically confuse a guy that is in the MVP conversation or has been in the MVP conversation, uh, to the point that he looks like a rookie again, and just making bad mistakes and forcing him into, I guess, the Alabama Jalen Hurts, not the Oklahoma Jalen
yeah,
Hurts.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
being able to make all that stuff happen, and the Jets did the same thing to Buffalo, and I think it comes down to X's and O coaching, and that big bold hot take, right? Coaching makes the difference. You can put as many great players in on the field as you want, but if your coaches don't see that advantage or don't scheme you into the right advantage, then you're just not going to be successful. Brian Venables or not Brian Daboll knows more about Josh Allen than Josh Allen does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So who knows how to beat him?
the guy who coached them.
Yeah. Unfortunately, his quarterback was Tyrod Taylor, so it didn't work out for him. His they were an audible away from being Buffalo essentially, and they still were in it at the very end, and they had that opportunity on the goal line. It just wasn't really going to work for them.
I'll trade you McCarthy for Tomlin.
You know what? I would never give up on Tomlin, and
You can't.
I think look,
You can't give up on him.
a guy like Tomlin gives too much leeway to his coaches. And like maybe that's the right thing. Like if you're at work, you want people to figure it out, and if you have somebody responsible for a department, you want them to be able to sort that out. You don't want to have to step in heavy. But when
You
you're
have to sometimes.
yeah,
I
like
think Pittsburgh is long game though. With Pittsburgh, it's just such long game.
yeah.
Like your three coaches in your history, you're thinking of like, okay, we're talking about like a decade program. It's like the NFL's win now, and like Tomlin's great at that. Like
Yeah.
you don't. It's very easy for someone to go under 500 in the NFL.
Exactly.
Very easy. Injuries, and it's happening.
Not when you're in Pittsburgh. It's not easy to
No,
go to 500 there.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, it's like, okay, well, like, how do you make this happen, right? And I mean, yeah, I just when I look at like Dallas, I'm like, just better coaching would have solved a lot of these problems.
I'll
A
tell you,
lot of
like
these problems.
I don't dislike the offense that the Cowboys are running right now. I think that they're putting Dak in a better position. I'm going to throw all the tape out on the 49ers because you just weren't ready for the game, And like ultimately, Dak wasn't ready. The coaching staff wasn't ready. None of the players were ready. Everybody was focused on that playoff loss,
Yeah.
except for the 49ers, you know?
Well, and I think it just like what we just saw yesterday. I think it just proves how amazing football is. Like
Yeah.
when you look at like we can watch a day like yesterday and be like, this is why we watched the game. It's not like Golden State just pummeling like Sacramento Kings. Like this is like holy shit. Like Cleveland can you know put into the ground the Niners, right? You're looking at like the Giants are hanging with the Bills.
Well, I've said this on this show. That there's no such thing as a bad NFL player.
Yeah. Hey,
No,
okay, we're gonna pause for a second. Malcolm, you want to come? Come next week. Next Monday, you're more than welcome to come on and talk about the Eagles. We wish we'd have crushed you with the Eagles this week, but
oh,
if you're gonna call us out in the chat, you can just come next week.
is that Malcolm Noel?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay. So Dallas destroyed the Jets, by the way. So ipso facto,
Yeah.
Dallas will destroy the Eagles. Like that's all I'm saying. I mean, if logic dictates, like it always does in the NFL,
Of course.
always
Of course.
does in the NFL. Dallas beat the Jets. What was it like 40-10, and therefore you lose to the Jets. Therefore, Dallas will beat you
You're
by
gonna
like
get
75 to nothing.
You're gonna get smashed by the
75 to
Eagles.
nothing. It's
You're gonna get smashed
I
by
know.
the Eagles.
Okay. But that being said, right?
Yeah.
So that's why the league is so amazing. It's like, okay, well, logic doesn't dictate.
Okay,
It's
so
why we keep going back for more, right? So go ahead.
Yeah.
AFC. Bills lose. Chiefs didn't look great.
Bills didn't lose.
Bills won,
Bills
but
won,
barely
sorry.
won.
They tried to
Barely.
lose.
Yeah,
but-
They tried to,
Yeah.
and the NFL or the ref helped them out.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Dolphins are rolling.
Yes.
They look really good.
They look really good.
You know what I told my son
Really
yesterday? Nobody that hits their stride in September and October wins the Super Bowl.
100%.
True.
I agree with you. Should people be really scared of that Miami team?
Right now, you should be. Like, they're the Colts of, like, the
The
early 2000s, right? Like, I mean, I'm not going to call Tua Peyton Manning, but, like, you're scoring a shit ton of points, and then you're going to get schemed against in the wild card round, and you're going to be fucked.
It reminds me of like a random wild card Cincinnati win against that type of team that just comes in, wins the division, dominates all year, puts up a high amount of points, and all of a sudden you just lose in the wild card.
Right.
Well, I think the one they have to win division. They cannot go to Buffalo.
No.
And I think that's
no
fair.
wants to go.
Well, and
Exactly.
they have, I mean, it's a 2-game lead on, no, Buffalo's 4-2.
4-2,
Yeah, 4-2.
So they have the
now,
1-game lead, but Buffalo did beat them, so it's really like a half a game. Like,
Yeah.
the next game against each other is going to really dictate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching the games this weekend when I saw like all the powerhouses. It didn't look great.
No.
No.
Like we're gonna feel the top teams in the league. Kansas City didn't look great.
Right.
Philadelphia had lost.
But
Yeah.
look who they beat. Like, let's be honest. Like, some of these teams, like, okay, sure, you're beating up shit teams. Even Detroit. Like, Detroit, they're not the Detroit Lions that we all used to know.
Detroit's
sure.
a good football team.
They are a good football team. They are a good football team, but they're beating up crappy teams. Now they beat KC, fair enough. God bless them. But at the same time, like, you know, they're not. No one's the be all to end all right now, and that's what's
Yeah.
amazing about what's going on right now. No one's established themselves as like, okay, we're invincible. Except maybe KC, quite frankly.
I will tell you, I think Detroit has now put themselves in the driver's seat in the NFC.
You think that they're like an NFC championship contender?
I do.
Yeah.
I will all day long. I will say they are.
So I'd say it's almost fair. And I mean, it's too early to call it. It's election season, whatever. But like,
If they get,
they're gonna win the North,
yeah, so we know that they're gonna get, they're getting one home game regardless.
right?
Yeah, but no one else in the North is going to make the playoffs. So
Yeah, and you know what? I had high hopes for the Pack. I don't mean to keep cutting you off. I had high hopes for the Packers. TBD. But go ahead.
This is what I'm trying to say. If they can get 2 home games, they might not get home field advantage. They can get 2 home games. Think about this for a second. When in our lifetime has the Detroit Lions hosted a playoff game?
they hosted one against Dallas and lost.
Yeah.
Or no, was it against Dallas?
I think it
no,
was. I think it was the
Dallas
Saints.
hosted them.
I think it was the Saints. Was probably the last time. Maybe Matt
Yeah,
Stafford.
they're a wild card team. Yeah.
But if that place gets a home game in the playoffs, that's going to be a scary place to play a game.
Yeah.
They're not the Lions that we remember.
Yeah.
The defense can ball.
Yeah.
That offensive line is nasty. They run the ball really well,
Yeah.
and their quarterback is good enough. Like,
They're
they got to the
inspired.
Rams team.
They're inspired. They're
Jared
inspired
Goff's
right
not a bad quarterback.
So here's the problem:
now. Good team in the
is
Super Bowl.
you got Gibbs and Montgomery that are both banged up, and they have no running back depth. And their offensive line is good, but their offensive line has looked that good because of the scheming and the ability of those two running backs. If they throw what's his name, Gregory, or who was playing in the end of the Bucks game, I don't know. He was wearing number 17, but he looked like an absolute scrub, and he is not an NFL running back. So unless Montgomery or Gibbs can pull it
Gibbs will be
together,
back in a week.
okay,
Montgomery's out for about 3 probably.
yeah, and I mean, when they signed him, that's why you go and get a guy like Gibbs because Montgomery hasn't played a whole season in his. But going into this, say 2 years ago, the best chance the Lions had to host a playoff game was if someone's snowstorm or there's like their
Yeah.
roof caved in or like
Yeah.
whatever else is going to happen. So it's good for football to have that kind of parity, and I think it's good for our logistics because I mean.
We're right here.
If there was a playoff
Yeah.
game we're going to go to that doesn't.
Well,
involve
and when
our
Dallas
team,
is a wild card team and they get hosted by Detroit, I'm down with that.
would you go to that?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
So the craziest part is, though, the Lions got the draft. And we've all made jokes that they could finally see the number 1 pick. And they're going to pick in the bottom half of that draft.
I mean,
they're going to pick like 22 back.
ultimately, if they do it right, they shouldn't be making that pick at all. They should be trading a first round pick and trying to get like actual players that can help them now. I mean, the trade deadline is going to happen, and not to skip ahead or like spend any time worrying about teams that suck, but the Denver Broncos are having a fucking fire sale, and I'm telling you, if I was any team, I would give my first round pick right now, unless you think you're a top 10, like
Just entertained.
all
All
day,
day long.
all day, and like I might give you my first and second because that guy is gonna be like he's special, and he's a real shutdown corner. If you told me right now the Steelers were giving their first and second round pick for Patrick Surtain, tell me where to sign. I'm in. Yeah, this is the Minka Fitzpatrick deal all over again. Let's fucking do it.
You don't look so convinced.
No. I'm just I'm perplexed of how absolutely horrible Denver is. Like they're the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
Like of the past day, it's like wow, it's beyond surprising to me. It almost seems intentional. It almost seems intentional.
I think it's phenomenal because I can't stand Russell Wilson.
No, I can't either.
Yeah, I think Russell Wilson's not very good. I mean, Sean Payton is a good coach, but it's showing that Sean Payton is a really good coach with Drew Brees. And that's not to disparage him because would Mike Tomlin have this record if
So
it wasn't
what
for
did
Ben
Carroll
Roethlisberger?
know?
Yeah,
Like Gino
You're right,
is
yeah.
our guy. Like
He knew that Russ was done.
yeah,
yeah.
and he called it.
Yeah.
And it's
And
was
you-
hype.
I'll
It was
admit,
hype.
I'll admit, I didn't. I'm like, what? I don't know.
Pete
I don't
Carroll
follow
should walk-
Seahawks football.
Pete
Yeah.
Carroll should walk in every game wearing a ski mask.
Yeah,
'Cause he robbed the whole NFL with that
yeah.
deal.
He's, you
Yeah.
know what I mean, though. But he knew,
He
and I'm like, I'm wishy washy on it clearly because I'm like, 2 Super Bowls. Should have won 2 Super Bowls. But I'm like, what the hell do you know that we don't know?
Yeah.
Clearly, he knew.
Yeah.
Hey, can we talk about this?
Clearly
Real?
knew.
Have you guys seen the interview with Marshawn Lynch and Shannon Sharp
I don't think so.
about? And he
That's
bluntly
uncut.
asks Marshawn Lynch about that play, and he's like, as it came out, he's like, everybody in the huddle looked at me like, what the fuck is happening right now? He's like, and then it happens, and he's like, I walk over the sideline, I take my helmet off. Russ goes, we'll get him next time. He's like, next time,
Motherfucker, I'm from Oakland.
Like,
What the fuck are
he
you
walked
talking about
over
next
right
time?
to Pete Carroll and goes, I laughed in his face.
What a joke.
Shannon Sharp's like, you laughed at him. He was like, yeah.
Wow. That is one of the craziest plays, and like that's one of those Super Bowls that you'll never forget because obviously that play happened, but also I remember just watching it alone because it was a crazy snowstorm. Like you guys
Yeah,
remember that? Like,
I was
remember
working.
that?
At, I was working at Krabby's that night.
Yeah.
And I remember like being up in the bar. Like, we all worked there, so I know you guys. No one else knows this.
Yeah.
Like I'm walking like on the TVs, like they're like right here. Like
Yeah.
the bar was here, and then like the ones on the far wall. And I'm just like, all right, watch this play. What's happening? And I just like jaw drops.
I
Like
was working at the
and-
downtown one. You were working at the
and,
south one.
like,
I'm
I
like,
swear, like
the bar was empty because crazy ass snowstorm,
Yeah.
like empty, like Super Bowl. You at a restaurant bar, sports bar, you plan for that the whole year,
Yeah.
empty.
Yeah.
So the only people that give a shit are like the workers, and in that period of time, there's only like 2 or 3 of them that actually watch football. You, me,
Yeah.
whoever, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what the fuck did I just see?
I remember like so. I remember like my phone on me, obviously, ever. And like it starts like vibrating. It's my mom calling me, and I'm like, "What the fuck's my mom calling me for?" Like I'm thinking like someone's in the hospital.
Oh,
yeah.
Like worse. No one calls people anymore.
No,
Kind of like, what? I'm like, you get she's like, you'd have ran that ball, right?
Yes.
your mom. Wow.
She's like,
Mom
all
is
I'm
Mom's
picturing.
a G.
Like, I played high school football with like, the best running back probably ever come out of London.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm picturing you on the sideline. Look at your coach, be like, no, I'm not doing that.
Audible.
Yeah, we are handing this ball off. We are not throwing this ball.
What happened to our guy there? What was his name again? Who picked that off?
Malcolm Butler. He got
Malcolm
paid.
Butler.
He got paid a
He
lot
went to
of money.
Tennessee.
He went to Tennessee, but now where is he?
I think that he's working at some car dealership in Tennessee.
You know what though? Yeah, he probably has his name on him.
Yeah. Why? He's probably got like maybe he's got a car dealership in New England because that guy could probably eat anywhere he wants to.
100%.
But those are two franchises that are kind of melting down right now. I mean, the meltdown in New England. I think that we all kind of saw this coming from the Cam Newton days.
I mean,
I expected Mac
not to
Jones.
this level though.
Yeah,
Not to this level. This is bad.
Bill Belichick has like you let him walk away graciously, right?
he doesn't get fired.
No, he can't get fired.
Like,
it's like
but
Phil
he's
Jackson.
getting-
Like
yeah.
you can't get
Like
fired.
you're gonna just like hint like you're like, hey, we let you walk away, but you have to walk away. Like it has to be that situation, right?
The Rooney's whispered it in Bill
Different
Cowher's ear.
And Dick LeBeau, right?
Dick LeBeau, yeah, I mean, he was basically the problem with him was he was unwilling to change his defensive style.
Yeah.
And Troy Polamalu was on like year 13, and James Harrison was on like year 50, and like they needed to like revamp the defense because there's nobody else like Troy Polamalu. You can
Malcolm Butler is working out with the Falcons right now.
Working out, yeah.
yeah.
Terrell Owens is working out with the Cowboys apparently right now too.
Yeah.
Well, you need him.
I guess.
Well,
they're-
yeah, we
they're
need-
bringing him in
yeah.
after
Okay.
into the camp.
Malcolm Butler, good for him.
Yeah.
So this is completely off topic. If Terrell Owens was to get signed, does he lose his Hall of Fame status?
I wonder if you're even allowed once you get into the Hall of Fame.
It's like you have to wait 5 years to get in.
Yeah.
And the guy's been out for like 10.
I mean, they have that commercial where Drew, Dan Marino, and Emmett Smith and those guys. But it's a chip commercial. I can't imagine it's
Emmitt
real.
Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Living in the past, eh? Living in the past.
I'm gonna say this right now as a Cowboys fan. What I do is I buy jerseys of guys who've been retired for 10 years, specifically because
Yeah,
they
lose
could go to jail or kill someone or potentially like DUI or whatever,
Yeah.
disgrace themselves or whatever. So I wait I got the
You're
triplet.
telling me you wouldn't get like a Hernandez jersey?
So
No.
he's got the
Randall
triplets. You're obviously not worried about Michael Irving if
Yeah.
you
Well,
Leo red jersey?
you wear that one just around the house.
he's a
though.
great downhill skier.
Yeah.
Like, I hope you know that. But yeah, I
Hey,
don't know
Miami.
the reference I'm making. But yeah, I do
Yeah.
have an Irvin jersey.
Yeah,
I have Aikman, Irvin. I have Neon Dion. And yeah, how about
probably coming
Neon
up to like.
Dion with Colorado? Whoa.
So that's
Watch
what
the end
Kelly
of
was
that.
saying. So I
Yeah.
was talking about that Michigan State meltdown, and she said at least it wasn't as bad as the Colorado meltdown, which
Well, I mean, Stanford, like, so the on the football team, they archery in the middle of the week and then football on the weekend. That's what they do, right? Like, what the hell was that?
that kid had 300 yards receiving, and I definitely didn't know who he was going into that game, and I still don't know his name, but I know the fact that one, he's Canadian, and two, he had 300 yards receiving, so we should probably figure out who that
Yeah.
was.
The crazy part is, and like, I'm not making an excuse. How bad is Travis Hunter actually injured? Because he got exposed.
Yeah,
Like, everybody's showing the highlight catcher got dunked on. That happens. He was actually in great position. That was a great football play. He got caught out of position so many times
mhm,
on double moves. And so either like the blueprint got made how to beat him,
yeah.
or he can't change direction. Like he's a lacerated
So,
liver.
so do you think, like, lacerate? First of all, I didn't even know that was a thing. You
Yeah,
can
right.
lacerate a liver.
Right, yeah,
So
exactly.
you
Yeah,
can, like,
if you hit the right spot, I guess. I don't know, but like,
lacerated liver, like, that's under the skin. Like, how do you lacerate that, right? But anyway, sure, lacerated liver. But like, do you think? Like, I get it with the Buffs. There's a huge like hype that's going on with it right now. Do you think that these guys they're super inspired, but they're also eh, lacerated liver? I'm gonna play
Yeah,
because
I'm gonna give
I
you
need to
the,
prove it for
so
everybody's after the
Dion.
NIL, right?
but
Yeah,
no, that's the other part of it.
yeah.
The transfer portal all went to Colorado. Do you know who goes in the transfer portal? Players that their teams don't want. If you're gonna start,
I.e., like Hurricanes, like
if,
literally the U.
but no, literally,
Like,
it's like if I'm at Oklahoma, if I'm at Notre Dame, if I'm at Bama, and I'm starting, I'm not leaving to go to Colorado.
well, and you know, God bless it, a lot of HBU shit that's flowing through there, and that's amazing and all. But at the same time, it's like if you have some,
He didn't bring a. He only brought a couple guys from John. It was like 3 or 4 players,
yeah,
and they're legit ballers.
of course. At the same time, though, I think the problem with Colorado right now is that no one can anticipate how good Pac 10, 12, whatever the fuck it is,
Was gonna
how
be.
good it's going to be.
Yeah,
Like, it's a garbage conference. Not right now.
no,
Like, not right now.
it's as good as it's been in the last decade at
Mhm.
least.
And
And I'll say one thing that, and yeah, this is gonna piss people off. One thing that I will say from watching the SC Notre Dame game and the Washington Oregon game, none of those guys are first round quarterbacks.
No,
Like they're all going to be, but none of them are actual first round quarterbacks.
no.
So you have Caleb Williams that people are going to probably try and trade up for with the Bears. I hope the Bears get all the picks that they need to do whatever they need to
You
do.
know they're trading out.
They have to. 'Cause Justin Fields is going to be their guy. Like they're not going to trade out for that, or they're not going to draft another guy for that. Um, ultimately, Bo Nix will probably get picked in the first round. Should not be. He is worse than Baker Mayfield. He is worse than Johnny Manziel. Uh, and Michael Penix Jr. maybe wins a couple games in the NFL, but really not an NFL level quarterback. If you have guys that can run streaks and outrun the defense, great. He's your guy. It doesn't happen in that league. And all he's going to need is a little bit of pressure, and he doesn't have the wheels to get outside, and he likes to throw from the pocket. Sorry, it's just not going to happen. The only first round quarterback that I watched all weekend was Drake May. Period.
We've been saying that the whole year. We
Yeah.
haven't lied about it. Kaling gets mad at us saying it's Caleb Williams. Notre Dame has a good defense. Not a great defense.
Yeah.
they always do traditionally. They really do. They gun people down. They really do.
Marcus Freeman is a great defensive coordinator.
Yep.
I think he's a better coordinator than he's a head coach. We had this conversation.
Mhm.
He's still learning how to be a head coach. Unfortunately, he's at Notre Dame. It's not really where you learn.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things where every single person on the defensive line did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
We didn't take the foot off the gas. And I don't want to say Caleb Williams was under duress the whole day, but he held onto the football so long. Like our sacks and our pressures came from him not being able to get the quick hot read out. We took away the hot read and sent one extra guy, which is honestly just 5-on-5. It's not like we're sending 7 guys.
We talked about it on Sunday. Like the main thing was the disciplined rush lanes.
They didn't chase him.
No,
Like the Barry Sanders treatment.
Mm-hmm.
If you miss Barry Sanders, don't chase him. He's going to come back to you.
yeah,
That's literally what it was.
right.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, you made the pocket. He wants to go out. You extend the pocket. You make him play here. You don't let him play out there. A couple of times he got out and he made plays. When we kept him in the pocket, he did not look good. He looked very uncomfortable, which means at the NFL level, you're going to be very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
And would you like, in my opinion, would you say like that is like Pac-12 football, right? Like they're like Notre Dame,
Yeah.
clearly not, like
No,
it's not a conference, but at the same time, like if you were to associate a conference for
I was Big 12
for the Irish,
He's a big,
yeah,
but Caleb Williams is a Big 12 quarterback. Run and gun, run around, throw it
yeah,
around.
but what would you say that Notre Dame plays? I think they play like Big Ten SEC football.
See,
Right, it's like
ACC all day long.
yeah. I mean,
Front pressure. I think we are in the ACC realistically.
essentially
We have
yeah,
7
yeah.
games ACC. You're building your team to beat 7 teams ACC, plus a couple of your slapdick teams you're going to get
Yes,
in a rivalry game.
but you can
Yeah.
recruit like a Big Ten in an SEC school,
Yeah.
but play against the ACC. And,
Yeah.
like that's. I'm not saying that's why they're successful because like they're recruiting differently, but that is exactly why they can get different level players. And I thought this year was a playoff year. They kind of let that one get away with Louisville, and it wasn't like the Ohio State one. Whatever, we can push that off to the side. The Louisville one clearly pushes them out of the playoffs, but I thought that they had a clear shot at getting in there, even with that loss to Ohio State, because the Ohio State loss is going to get nullified when you beat the USC's, and
Yeah.
you know, like you have another game coming up in 2 weeks against
and Ohio
Duke.
State runs the table or potentially
Yeah.
runs the table.
Clemson's coming up.
Like yeah,
Yeah, like we probably got a couple minutes left, and you know, I know Kelly loves it when we talk about college football. So, the game's about to start.
just get started.
Just a quick question, and then we'll sign out here. Do you think it's more likely that Texas or Oklahoma makes the playoff?
Right now,
And
So-
I'll make a case for Texas maybe to like help out.
this isn't the only way. Texas has to win the Big 12.
Yes,
That's the first. Like,
exactly.
It's a
Yeah,
fact.
Either of those 2 teams have to win the Big 12.
It's a fact.
That's the first thing. Now, the part that's going to fuck over Texas, opposed to Oklahoma. Oklahoma could beat Texas on a barn burner again. Last drive of the game, sneaky win out. They're in the playoff. If Texas wants to go on, they are going to have to run the table first off,
Yes.
and they're going to have to slap Oklahoma in the championship game.
and
It's the only way they can get in.
they need Alabama to keep playing well.
Yeah.
So like they need that Alabama win to continue to look good, which I didn't think
If-
that it was going to.
If Alabama loses the game, Texas is in a lot of trouble.
Like I'll say Alabama's game recently against Arkansas and Old Miss showed that Alabama is actually a decent team, and they're going to probably play in one of the New Year's Six games. They're definitely not going to like Georgia's not going to let them in the playoffs. But if a team like Alabama did find a way to sneak into the playoffs, then one lost Texas team that wins the Big 12 absolutely gets in because you can't keep them out. And you look at Michigan, Ohio
Alabama.
State, like one of those teams is losing because they're going to lose to each other. I actually think Ohio
Big 12.
State. Ohio State's going to lose this week to Penn State, and that's like I think Penn State. People are sleeping on Penn State because they don't get all the primetime games, but those guys can run the ball, and their quarterback is far more legit than Sean Crawford or Clifford or whatever his name was. This is probably the best Penn State team that they've had in the last 5-6 years. They will have a shot to get in the playoff, iffy, but they have a shot because this Michigan team makes me sick, but they keep finding ways to win.
I think as of right now, Oklahoma's in. Like it comes to that Big 12 championship, and Alabama's not the Alabama we know. They're not
Yeah,
the same
they're
team.
not. No.
So that win that Texas had against them doesn't have as much clout as it would have 2 years ago,
Yes.
3 years ago.
Kelly's having some fun in the chat.
No,
She's hating on Alabama. I understand that you want Oklahoma to be in the playoffs. We're just saying that there still is a path for Texas to
Yeah.
get in. Uh, If I were
It's a
to,
difficult path.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
Difficult
say
path.
if one of those two teams, if I had to put a percentage beside it, it's 70% Oklahoma and 30% Texas.
it's either Oklahoma gets in, or I don't think either of them get in. That's my honest
Okay.
opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't
Yeah.
think Texas is. If they win, the amount they would have to win by to get that vote is astronomical.
Right.
Like, they're not getting in by a close game. And I think if they get a close game again, Oklahoma showed they have the grit to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And ultimately, like the playoff committee, they decide who's gonna have the best ratings.
Condoleezza Rice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, we don't get a say
Yeah.
in this.
Yeah.
Michigan would never get in if that was the case.
Yeah, I do think that if Texas was to run the table, Oklahoma runs the table, and they play each other in the Big 12 championship, Texas wins, even if it's just by a touchdown. I think that Texas gets in. But that's obviously there's tons of different factors. Like that's the Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State cannibalizing each other. Only one of those teams is going to be undefeated, if at all.
This is the time where like the 12-team playoffs game is so exciting.
Yeah.
Here and that's where it gets. This is where this actually makes so much sense to me. And I was just going to pose this because you guys were talking about it. I'm like, you remember how each conference in the NFL you'd have the two buys, and then boom, two move up, and then two people. Like usually in the college season, there's two. Like, okay, you're both running away with it.
Well,
Like
the
that's
top
cool.
four are getting a
Yeah.
bye.
Yes. Right? Like so in my mind, at minimum six. You got the two, you got Georgia running the table and blah blah blah. You got two teams that run the table and then four others that feed into the two.
Yeah.
And then, more than likely it'll be the top two that face each other. But at a minimum six. And as if you are the guy who went 13-0, like, yeah, the two of you go through with the buy,
Yeah.
quote
Put them over
unquote
here.
buy,
Yeah.
right? But then at the same time, though, like the limit it to four it's difficult,
Yeah.
right? Because we had that question before when it was like two. It's like okay, well, four is kind of the same thing, and then you get Cincinnati missing, right? And like
It's the
and
baseball thing,
USF,
and like
And people are upset about
Yeah.
baseball now.
like the baseball.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
even now with it, right? Like because
It's-
it doesn't make sense.
now like they've made like sorry Joe
Yeah,
Uh,
don't look at the TV.
Well, yeah.
No, don't look at the TV.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't.
the game started
Yeah, yeah.
so there's a flag anyway, it's coming back.
Yeah.
And
Okay. Good.
it-
Thank
like,
you.
the baseball
Jerry Jones wrote a check. Good.
all the baseball fans, they wanted extra playoff teams, and the old whites said no, we will not allow this, and then eventually they allowed it because ultimately like
It's more TV revenue.
the consumer
Yeah.
wins, right?
Yeah.
So like it's the same thing with the college football. All the old whites are like, no, we want this, we want
Traditional.
yeah, like tradition. Like no, fans actually want to watch
More football.
like quality football, and
More with football.
if you play in a shitty Power Five conference and you play shitty out of conference games, you should have a couple of tests before you play for a national championship.
100%.
And
Yeah.
we look at Michigan last year played a shitty fucking schedule.
Yeah.
Yes, they beat Ohio State, cool, but you guys got slapped by TCU, who ultimately sucks. Their quarterback is out of the
Yes.
league.
Yes.
Like a couple of their guys were like 7th-round picks. They had no stars. They just owned you.
Like, I've said this for years. Notre
No
Dame-
bias, by the way.
Yeah.
No, but Notre Dame is not a top. To me, Notre Dame's not a top 5 team, top 3 team.
Yet they're ranked
We're-
that every year.
Yeah.
And
No,
coming
we,
into-
we get a gift getting in.
Yeah.
And how many times have I told you we're a top 12 team?
Yeah.
That's what I said. That's who we are.
Yeah.
And then what? Put us in at a 12 seed or 11 seed. If we win a game or two, awesome. But then you see who's really there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, cool, you're 12 seed. We give you a chance to get the dance. But you got to win 3 games then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like that, you're gonna see where the real teams fall.
Yeah. And you know what? That's kind of what the beauty is. What's going on right now? It's like it feels like it's morphing towards that. And I think a couple of weeks ago you mentioned this. It was a top 50, bottom 50 kind of system
Yeah.
where it's like, okay, well, this is where it may go. And I think I see no flaws in that right now.
Top 50, bottom 50, 45 to 55 get relegated every year.
Right.
And you get to keep your 3 rivals, The rest of your games are played in that bracket.
Yeah, and you know what? Like that's similar to something. And like a long time ago, I pitched this to a friend about baseball.
Mhm.
Said at the 81 game mark,
Sorry, that's my fantasy football game, so I'm taking it. It's an off spot.
Good for you.
at the 81
Is
game
that
mark in
Herbert? You got
baseball,
Herbert?
No, I had Keenan Allen.
Oh,
yeah,
okay, there you
you
go.
should be making a relegation to you're either a tier one baseball team or a tier two baseball team. I'm not saying you're playing
I
for a
think
participation.
I think in hockey this is the most
Yeah.
relevant. Like hockey, the
You
bottom three go down
re-
to the AHL or whatever.
redo the
fuck it
fucking
is,
schedule.
right? Like
Like
yeah,
I don't want to watch
the
the
Pittsburgh Pirates who are like
yeah
70 games below 500 in July.
and
Like what
those
do we?
teams should not be impacting the playoff standing.
No,
It's like get out. You sucked.
go
You fucking
away.
lost.
Yeah,
Whether you're playing against other slapdick teams, and I get it, no one's gonna watch that except for the local fan base. Who gives a shit? Honestly,
can't even give
Oakland
away
can
the
play
tickets.
Pittsburgh all day. Peace out. See you later. I want to see the Dodgers play the Cincinnati Reds. And if you look at the National League wild card this year, like it was an exciting finish, but ultimately it was finished by a couple teams that were shit that had no business being a part of it.
Pretty
But
much. Yeah, and I think I mean that's why we said this earlier, and that's why the NFL is the best.
yeah,
Specifically because every Sunday actually matters.
17
Whereas
games. That's the difference,
17
man.
games, and it's like,
be
and it was
18
16
soon,
before,
right?
but it's like, imagine being a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, and then I hate to say Pittsburgh, but I'm just thinking of them because they've been shit,
Forever.
or
They're
or
trash.
even like the Reds were decent this year, but like imagine being like, oh, okay, we're 40 games under 500 at the All
Yeah,
Star break, like what the fuck are we doing? Like, why
right.
are we here?
And now like, you're
Yeah,
implementing a playoff spot.
Yeah. And then also, it's like, okay, we're going to develop these people who will also be 40 games under 500
yeah.
next year. It's
And
like,
we're
what
gonna
are we
take all of
doing?
our good pieces and we're gonna trade them away to other teams because we don't want to pay
Yeah. And
them.
it's like, what is this? Is this like the CFL? Like, what are we
Yeah.
doing here?
The
Right? Like,
NFL would never allow that, and that's why we love the NFL. And
yes,
the college football playoff is something that's been highly debated, and I think next year is when we actually get
Yeah.
to kick it into
it's
high
going to be
gear.
fascinating to see where it goes.
And I'm excited to watch everyone criticize the fact that there's 12 teams and it should be 10, and whatever. But
It's gonna be crazy when that like number 5 team plays number 12, and like so on and so forth.
and then the 12 wins,
And like yeah, like the 12, 11, and 10 win a game
Yeah,
out.
but that 12 might be like a 9 and or like an 8-3 Alabama, right? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? And that's what's kind of fascinating about it because like then you see like
Well, like
conference
the Big Ten and
shit.
the SEC are gonna get those spots.
well, that's why they're realigning the conferences, and like those conferences are seeing the future. They know what's going on. The Pac-2 clearly. Washington State and Oregon State are going to find a home somewhere,
Yeah,
wherever that might be. Think that,
CFL.
yeah,
They can probably contend.
yeah.
Probably. They probably beat the Argonauts.
Whether it comes down to like them joining the Big 12 or it's them joining the ACC, like I don't think either one of those or those teams would join the Big 10 or the SEC.
No.
I mean, that's not really fair to them. But joining one of those squads and like figuring it out, and logistically, the Big 10 makes the most sense because they're already traveling the craziest amount of distance. But yeah, we know you have a game to watch here. We're gonna wrap this thing up. It's been a hell of a time. We appreciate you stopping by. Anybody,
Thanks for having me. I
Yeah.
love you guys. Watch every week, so thank you.
you've been a friend of the show for a long time, and you obviously you've been involved, and we want you to come back anytime you want to come back. You want to talk shit to Chad, cool. You want to talk shit about the Steelers, cool.
I want Dallas to score a touchdown. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody that has free time this Sunday before you watch some football, make sure you head on down to the
Worley Roadhouse.
Roadhouse.
Dude.
Our guy Matt that runs the Rim Job Company is going to be doing a little bit of a charity event there, raising money for the London Food Bank.
It's from 10 to 2.
10 to 2, so head on down there. There's going to be a little bit of brunch, a little bit of Caesars. So
I know I'm gonna be there anyway, so
yeah,
it's like five spots.
Next
right?
Sunday? Or
This is coming
Sunday
Sunday,
coming up?
yeah, this Sunday coming up.
I can walk home in 5 minutes, so that's where I'll be.
You and him and I are going to be sparring, and then we'll head over there for a quick Caesar, and then we'll do some business. But definitely make sure you check that out, and we're going to post that all week, so make sure you check that out. And if you haven't gone to Bold Financial yet, now's the time to go check that out because Joe's here, and Joe is a great guy, great friend of the show, and we'll check out everything that he's doing. And we will see you next week. And it seems like, based on our chats, that Malcolm's going to be here next week. So we'll see if we can hold him down to that. But
Maybe I'll watch.
yeah, hey man, you're more than welcome to come by
Yeah,
anytime. So
I'll observe silently from the corner.
yeah,
Yeah,
cheers.
room for him. Hey.